I'm Eric.
And I'm Jaime.
And this is Horrorscope, a podcast for people who love horror movies.
And people who want to love them. Eric, I have two pieces of information for you that are important.
Okay.
Do you want the good news or the bad news? Psych! They're both good news.
Oh, okay. Wow.
One, I'm in a good mood.
Oh!
Despite all those things I just told you about my work week.
Yeah.
I'm in a good mood.
Oh, yeah.
And the second one, hold on to your butt. It's time to watch people get murdered. I'm excited to watch people get murdered.
Oh.
Because of the aforementioned bad things that have happened this week. We're watching House of Wax.
Oh my gosh! Wow! All right.
To explain about how that just happened, we've been trying to watch House of Wax for a few weeks now, and then I keep on chickening out because I'm just like, God, I can't do it. So Eric prepared info for two. We'll just watch the other one the next week, so you don't have to.
I mean, I have like a assembly of like a few movies just ready to go whenever we want.
Wow, just right off the dome.
You want Annabelle? Pow! I got you. You want the Descent? Pow! Pow! Oh, Mandy? Oh, no. We got them all. We got the whole arsenal.
Well, it's time for the big gun herself, Paris Hilton.
Now, Jamie,
as she's known.
That's hot.
That's hot. That's hot. That's hot. That's hot. That's hot. That's hot. That's hot. That's hot. That's hot. That's hot. That's hot. That's hot. This is hot.
Remember that, folks? That's hot.
What? Tell me. I know.
That's hot wax.
Okay. All right. There it was. So this is gonna be a wild ride because we're watching a slasher on purpose at my demand.
Yeah.
And two, this is the movie, I've said it before in a past episode, this is like the metric of what scary movies are for me, because on a field trip in 6th grade, I heard a girl telling another girl the plot of this movie on the bus, and I'm sitting behind them, and I had nightmares from that recollection. Mm-hmm. And that's all I know about this movie.
All right.
I know Paris Hilton is in it.
That's true. I
know My Chemical Romance is in the end credits.
That's true.
And that's all I know.
Their song, not their physical presence, unfortunately.
Ah, damn. Okay. Tell me everything.
I briefly saw it once on the Sci-Fi Channel, I think it was.
Okay.
And I saw one of the little snip-snap scenes, and I was like, ah! And then I changed the channel, and then never watched anything else about this movie. But I remember the cast in it, and that's about it.
I thought you have actually seen this whole movie. You haven't.
Oh, no.
Whoa! Uncharted territory! Yeah. Okay. But I did send Eric, because I was like, okay, I need a heads up about the content in this. So Eric was like, fuck, okay, I'll try to do some research. And then I sent Eric, compilation of kills in House of Wax. I have not seen those. I just sent the link.
It made my job so much. I was going to watch the whole ass movie just to make sure that everything was okay. But then Jamie was like, here you go. And it was like, I mean, not to, like, discredit them, but it was just, like, them showing the kills with, like, some grungy early 2000s butt rock just blasting behind it.
And
it's funny because I mean, spoilers in this movie, there's, like, a lot of wax figures and they're, like, people. So every time you see a wax figure, it's like, ding, 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 ding. It's just like, okay.
Oh, and for the kills?
For the kills. They count them as kills. I'm like, that doesn't count. I guess somebody did die at one point and was put into wax.
We could say that about, like, the Earth. They could show dirt and be like, fossils are in there.
It's like on the Cabin in the Woods episode where somebody said that like the entire human population died. I will say, I have a few treats for you during this episode. We were just talking about how Jaime has like a Venn diagram or a circle, depending on what your theories are about her, that are like unique interests that somehow overlap.
Everything that I like, a bunch of other people also like the exact same things. Mm-hmm. This movie's in there?
This movie, weirdly, because it felt like such a weird choice for you to pick, but there are two main and one kind of sub-main elements that happen to be correlating with this movie that I was like, what the fuck? Why? How is Jaime like this? Why does it that every time she recommends something?
This is...
One is MCR, so we've already gotten there.
It's good shit. This is just my metric of a movie that's scary, and we had to watch a modern-ish movie. Mm-hmm. And when you said this was a remake, I was like, okay, then we must. And so we shall. House of Wax is a 2005 slasher film directed by Jaume Collet-Serra, and written by Charles Belden, Chad Hayes, and Carrie Hayes, based on a story by Belden. The film stars Elijah Cuthbert, Chad Michael Murray, I did not know that, Brian Van Holt in a dual role, Paris Hilton, Jared Padalecki is in this?
Yes.
John Abrams, and Robert Richard. It's a loose remake of the 1953 film of the same name, itself a remake of the 1933 film Mystery of the Wax Museum.
All right, a little history lesson real quick. We'll go through it real fast. The Waxworks was written by Charles S. Belden in 1932 and then was made into a movie a year later called Mystery of the Wax Museum, which was one of the last movies to be made with 2-color Technicolor, so it's just red and green. Then it was remade again into House of Wax in 1953, which was a big 3D movie featuring
Wax.
And also co-starring Vincent Price.
Oh.
Revitalized his career.
He's back, baby.
He's back, baby.
How does it happen every week? Every single episode, the movie before has something stupid to do with the movie we watch now. Not planned.
That is true. I don't know.
Whatever.
Jaime, your brain and your Venn diagram.
I don't know, man. Okay.
So, we are now in 2005. We got remake.
I gotta stop you. I have a question.
Oh, boy.
What? Charles Belden wrote the story in the 30s?
Yeah.
He wrote this script.
To clarify, they're probably just saying, like, if you looked at, like, IMDb, it probably says, like, story by. And it says Charles Belden.
Okay. Well, it says it's written by Charles Belden, Chad Hayes, and Carrie Hayes, based on a story by Belden.
Yeah.
So it's not...
Belden did not write this script, Jaime.
I was like, this
He's
old
dead.
man. What?
He wheeled him out. And he was just put like, they're like, just put a question mark on the script. Just put a question mark on the script.
This man is 100 years old and he wrote this movie?
Watch The Simple Life.
I don't know. Oh, the Paris Hilton show.
Yeah,
okay,
it was just
fair.
like, yes, that's who I want in my movie.
I was just really confused. Okay, sorry, go ahead. Remakes. I was really hung up on her. This guy's like, this is my life work, I must complete it, and it's this fucking movie. Although, honestly, if I was gonna make something that would encapsulate my life, I would want My Chemical Romance involved somehow.
Got it. We'll put that in your biopic that I will be making. Also, we got little fun movies. We got Hostel. We got Devil's Rejects.
That's fun.
We got Saw 2.
Fun.
Hellraiser 8.
Fun. 8.
The Descent. Hard Candy. Just a blast. It's a blast of a year.
This tracks because this is when I was 10 years old looking at Blockbuster. So that tracks.
So you're just seeing all this gross stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so amongst all of this, we have the movie The House of Wax. It was brought about by Joel Silver, who was a big-time movie producer.
Okay.
He produced a bunch of movies, like Jamie's childhood favorite, The Matrix, and other things.
That's my, teenagerhood favorite. Favorite.
Okay.
My young adulthood favorite.
Your YA fave.
If I was a kid who was allowed to watch The Matrix, I would be so much cooler than I am now as an adult. It was formative, but it was too late. Okay.
Maybe for the best, seeing how The Matrix has been taken by or repurposed.
No, it wouldn't have happened.
Okay.
Red pilling would have meant something completely different.
That's true.
I would have been in charge.
Oh, you would have done
Okay, I would have been in charge. I would have been wearing tiny sunglasses.
Elon Musk wouldn't have existed.
Elon Musk, who?
It's Jamie. They brought on board Jaume, who had, this is like one of their first big films. He then later on went to go do The Orphan. I don't know if you know that movie.
Yes.
He made The Orphan. Made The Shallows.
Okay.
Which was like a
shark
movie. Yeah. And now is making movies for Dwayne The Rock Johnson. He made the Jungle Cruise movie and is going to make the Black Adam movie.
Literally, who is like, I want this guy to make the Jungle Cruise movie. What?
I don't. Oh, it's probably because The Rock watched one of Liam Neeson's movies. Did he watch Unknown? Did he watch Nonstop? Did he watch Run All Night? Did he watch The Commuter? All these are Liam Neeson movies directed by Jaume.
Oh, okay.
So
they're homies. Okay.
Yeah, it's like he did a little horror movies and then was just like, oh, Liam Neeson's my guy.
I got Liam, I can go anywhere.
And then Liam was like, oh, I'm getting a little winded here. And then he looked over at The Rock and says, you and me.
Tagged him in. Okay. Weird journey we're on.
Yes. He just directed it, though. Who wrote this? The Hayes Brothers. Do you remember the Hayes Brothers, Jamie?
From
Conjuring.
Oh yes, wow. I'm so smart.
So they did The Conjuring 1 and 2, and so they wrote this. Now to cast it just this is like, I don't know how you feel, but it's like 10-year-old Jamie or whatever, but like it's like a weird time to think about. It's like the one time that feels the weirdest to go back to.
Yeah, I mean, tell that to all the Zoomers wearing the little scrunchy crop tops who are like 2000s. Yeah. 2000s aesthetic. It wasn't a good time.
It wasn't a good time. You thought we could bounce back from the 90s, but we just got worse.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a weird... Yeah, 2005 is a particularly weird time.
Because it's, like, nostalgic, but, like, this movie encapsulates a lot of things that weren't necessarily, like, personal to me. It's just like, oh, those things were from that time, and that was a weird time.
Yeah.
Like Paris Hilton.
Yeah.
Who I knew existed, but was not, in any association with. I don't know, were you a Paris fan?
I was homeschooled, Eric. Okay. What are you talking about? Are you kidding me?
You liked any of her movies or anything?
What kind of evangelical homeschool kid likes Paris Hilton?
Can I get that on a t-shirt?
Yeah, that's the merch.
There we go. We found it.
I mean, I like her now. I appreciate her. I just started watching Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, and her aunt is on it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Also, horror fans, hello. The little girl from Halloween is Kyle Richards, is a Real Housewife. Is a big fucking deal.
Weird trajectory.
Absolutely. She was filming a behind-the-scenes documentary thing for the Halloween re-release on the first episode of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. All of my interests are the same! So we are going back to a weird time.
Yeah, we got... So the other two actors of note that I know, everyone else, I have no idea who they are. Jared Padalecki?
Padalecki.
Padalecki.
I stuttered over it.
Okay.
But that's what I think. Padalecki. Yes.
Supernatural brother is in this.
Yes.
As we all know him. And so is Chad Michael Murray from One Tree Hill.
Wrong. A Cinderella Story.
Oh, boy.
Are you kidding me with Hilary Duff? Are you kidding me? What? He's been in a ton of... Hang on. Look at me doing the research. AKA clicking on a Wikipedia article. He was in Freaky Friday.
Oh.
Cinderella Story. Riverdale.
That's where
tracks.
they all end. It's like all those like soap opera reality
It all
stars.
ends in Riverdale.
Track into Riverdale.
So we got two hunky dudes.
Mm-hmm.
Is it all guys? Is Paris Hilton the only girl?
No, there is another girl in this movie.
Okay.
I don't have her name written down.
That's fair.
And I didn't recognize her from any other movie.
Okay.
So I was just like, all right. And she's the main character.
Okay.
So, it's her, Paris, two hunky dudes, and I think there's like a nerdy best friend.
This didn't even give us the plot. It normally gives us at least a few sentences.
It says it right there. It's a house of wax.
Fair enough.
What else do you need to know?
Fair enough.
This was filmed in Australia, but it's supposed to be in Louisiana. They shot for 10 weeks. In the middle of it, one of the warehouses burned down because the house is like, they literally made the sets out of like, they like, of course, made the sets, but then they coated it in wax. So it made it look like everything, like the house is wax.
So it just lit, lit on fire.
It just lit on fire.
Jesus Christ.
And you can see all of that and what it was like to film this movie and more if you were alive in 2005, turned on MTV and watched the limited reality TV series Movie Life House of Wax.
What? Every one of my interests intersects. Are you kidding me? How do we watch that?
On YouTube. I got a link, Jamie. I watched it all. There's 5 episodes.
Wow!
And it's terrible. It's
wow! Oh my! Every single fucking thing.
And there's more. There's one gem that I have left that I will save for the very end for you, Jamie.
End of the episode?
Yeah.
Damn. Okay.
It's your treat to make it through the movie.
I'm gonna coast through this motherfucker. I'm gonna soar through it.
Yeah, just to get to that end credits.
Yep. Is there anything? Okay. So you told me about. You said when we were talking about this before, you're gonna just yell directly before something bad happens. I do not want you to do that.
You want me to go, decapitation!
You said you were going to do that. But not in that same tone, in a more serious, like, Jamie, I will let you know. I don't want that. But I will, off air, while the listeners hearing me read the content warnings, you will give me the content warnings. Mm. And then we can figure it out. But I know there's some gnarly shit in this movie. Mm. Yes. How? You don't know. You haven't seen it. Wow.
I've seen all the kills.
That's true. Okay. Is there anything else I should know going into it? Besides that one juicy nugget at the end.
That one juicy nugget. Do you want to know about taglines or the soundtrack?
Yes.
Before or after the movie?
I want the taglines now, and then we can talk about the soundtrack after.
Perfect. I love
Yes.
it. All right. Pray, slay, display. I have that in my kitchen, actually. It's my eat, pray, love.
P-R-E-Y? Or pray to baby Jesus?
P-R-E-Y, yeah.
Okay, pray,
slay,
display.
Which doesn't make
Gross.
sense because it should be A-Y, because the other two are A-Ys.
Yeah, you're right. It's not a noun. Fuck them. You're right.
I forgot to mention, too, in the MTV show, it follows the cast of, like, you know, young, beautiful, hip happening people, and also a prominent character in the show who is billed next to Paris Hilton is Joel Silver, the middle-aged producer. Where it's like, that's Jared. He's the hot lead, and that's Paris Hilton, and that's, you don't mess with him. That's Joel Silver.
Salt. That's so thirsty.
And he's like walking with them.
Dude, I can't wait to watch that.
All right, backing it up. On May 6th, see Paris die.
That's disgusting.
No.
What?
This movie was all built on the fact that Paris Hilton's in it.
Literally, like, the hatred that Paris Hilton had to endure.
That was the weird thing that happened when I watched that MTV show. I was like, oh, Paris Hilton, like, it's just like...
She's fine!
She's like, yeah, and it's just like all this shit she has to go through. And you're like,
Absolutely!
She's like making herself breakfast and stuff and having to like close
She's
her blinds.
fine! Yeah, misogyny was bad. Yeah, another thing about 2005.
I'll wait for this movie. I'm
The
sure
misogyny.
there's some stuff. Yeah.
Oh, no. Okay, all right. What?
Two more. The flesh is weak. Waxes forever.
That sucks. Ew, that's... Okay, all right.
Which is very much not true. They have to be in a very...
Their
like...
set burned down! Okay.
Go to a Madame, what's her name, Theodorus, and just like try to touch one of the wax figures. See how much it lasts forever.
Ew. Okay, what's that? One more.
There's a reason they look so real.
Call an ambulance. My eyes have rolled out of my head.
Whoever typed that one was just like, bada beam, bada boom, send.
All right. What? Anything else?
That's all I got.
Eric, it's time to... Do you like candles? It's time.
You best start believing in candles. You're one.
Oh my god. Stupid. Hey y'all, it is time for the content warnings for House of Wax. This movie is bananas, and these content warnings spoil the film. There is no way to get through everything that I need to tell you about without spoiling some plot. So if you're watching along with us and want to go in blind, just be aware that there is some shit. Some shit goes down in this movie, okay? So if you skip ahead, you need to know that. Alright, so this movie has decapitation, impalement through the head, a scene that features snuff footage style shots, needles, feet that get stabbed and slashed, a finger that gets chopped off, someone's lips are glued together and ripped apart. A person is shown to be still alive while embalmed in wax. That person's face gets ripped off. The film opens with a scene of child abuse where a kid gets hit. There's a mention of suicide. There's an open wound being treated. People of all kinds are made into wax figures. There's a scene of animal gore. There are some bugs crawling out of wounds a few times. There is a head getting bashed in. There are conjoined twins. There are non-human fetuses showed in jars. And then, after all of that, there is some PG-13 style nudity and some light misogyny. Still with me after all of that? Great. Are you exhausted? Me too. I was trying to write everything out. There's no way to cover all of it without spoiling parts of the movie. So if you are watching with us, like I said, get ready for a wild, wild ride. The recap itself is also a wild ride. I understand if you won't believe me after all of that, but it wasn't super horrible watching it, and that is coming from a big old chicken. It was just mostly gross. A lot of the images from the movie stayed with me afterwards, but no long-term emotional damage for me watching this one, so don't know if that helps anybody out, but hey, figured you should know. It's our job and it's your job to make the world a little less horrific however we can, so this week we are highlighting CASA. CASA stands for Court-Appointed Special Advocates, and CASA volunteers are everyday people appointed by a judge to speak up for abused and neglected children in court. Child abuse is a weird plot point in this movie, kind of for no reason. It doesn't get revisited, and it was something that didn't sit super well with us. So we just wanted to highlight CASA and the great work that they do, specifically CASA Arizona, because we are in Arizona. Only 1 in 5 Arizona children in foster care has a CASA volunteer. So if you think this is something you could do, if you have the right skills, take a look at the link in our show notes and look up CASA in your state or wherever you are in the world. I don't know if they are international, but if you can support them, do so. They are wonderful. Okay, this recap is crazy. This movie is crazy. Let's get into it. I don't know. I don't know how to... I've been trying to gather my thoughts. They are scattered.
You got this, Jamie.
What did you think?
What?
What do you think?
Jumping into thoughts?
No, I just want to know. General, overall.
I thought it was good. It was better than I was expecting. Even by the standards of it being like an underrated 2000s movie.
It was good.
It was better than that.
Yeah.
I think they're it definitely showed the tools the directors and writers were given, they were able to maximize. I'm pretty sure the Hayes brothers and Jaume were probably didn't have that many resources other than the fact that Paris Hilton's in this movie, and then they were able to still craft a pretty beautiful, creative, weird, and very particular movie.
I've been not helpful for audio. I've been nodding. Yeah. Okay.
Which is pretty much what we did during the movie, was just nodding on the movie, okay, all right.
All right. So, first note wrote down is wax. Shocker.
Oh man,
this isn't going to start well.
Opens with wax.
There's a woman. It is in the 70s. We get a title card. It is in the 70s.
That's good to know.
And there's a woman melting wax in a pot, and there is a child eating Cheerios. You don't see anybody's faces. Then a man brings in another kid who is screaming. They're wearing the same clothes. You see their little feet. And the other kid gets strapped into a high chair and then strapped into it by his wrists and then duct taped into it. And then his wrists are bleeding and he's screaming. And the mom's like, why can't you be like your brother? Then he scratches his mom and then the mom slaps him. It was a distressing start to a distressing film. House of Wax, title card.
House of Wax.
So our protagonist's name is...
Don't look at me.
Carrie.
Sure.
Jenna.
Let me pull up.
I don't know what her actor name is, aka her real human name.
Her real human name.
It's Elijah, right? Is she Elijah?
Elijah, yeah, her name is Carly.
Carly, okay. So Carly and Paris Hilton are... They
spent so much effort.
I know.
And then Paris Hilton.
Okay, Carly and Paris Hilton. You told me not even to learn that girl's name. And you were right.
The movie never learned her name either.
Absolutely not. We find out Paris Hilton is... This is out of... Paris Hilton's pregnant, maybe. Her boyfriend is here. They are going on a trip to watch a football game. Carly's boyfriend is here, who is Jared Padalecki. And there is another guy named Dalton, who is a Fedora Man-ish. Fedora Man vibes. And then... Fedora Man rising, if you will. And then Carly's brother, Chad Michael Murray. How are we going to talk about that? I wrote down that Jared Padalecki has a cringe mustache. He does have a cringe mustache.
Don't even give it credit as a mustache.
Yeah, it's just a little, yeah.
It's a little bit.
They all look like little babies. Chad Michael Murray has a shaved head. He bullies a homeless man, so he's automatically bad.
What a way to start your character off, huh?
Yeah. Also, gets weirder. He sits down next to his sister, and they have instant, crazy sexual chemistry. Crazy.
They could not cut it out of this film.
I was like, this is weird. And Eric's like, you know what's also weird? This is an IMDb trivia fact for this movie, is that they have weird, horny energy.
In the IMDb trivia, somebody, this was very... I love it when people put their own opinions in it. They're like, maybe this is an indication that they should have switched Chad Michael Murray and Jared's characters.
So that's what we're working with here. We find out he just got out of jail. He stole a car. Whatever. They are... going to pull over and camp for the night. Paris Hilton's giving roadhead. Creepy Fedora Man.
She was looking for chapstick.
All right. Creepy Fedora Man has a camcorder and is filming everything. Lots of shenanigans. They're drinking beer. There's footage. They're making out. They're playing football. And then a truck drives by and has the brights on, and they can't see inside, and the guys start getting aggro, and Chad Michael Murray throws a beer bottle and knocks one of the taillights out, and they drives away. And then Carly hears a noise, gets up out of the tent. There's a jump scare with her boyfriend who gets up. What's the boyfriend's name? Blake. Wade. Who's Blake?
Sorry.
The floor man.
Paris's boyfriend.
Oh, okay. All right, fuck it. I'll call him Wade. So
Both?
Wade Wade is Jared Falad. I don't know how to say his last name. That's why I'm copping out on Wade.
Supernatural brother.
Yeah, supernatural brother. His name is Wade. There's a good jump scare, and they go back in camp, but then we see footage through the camera zooming in on everyone's faces, in particular the girls. So I was like, oh, they're gonna kidnap these girls and make them their weird wax brides, is what I thought was going to happen.
No, that's in the next movie, Bride of Wax.
I would not put it past them. The next day, they wake up too late for the game, and then it turns out that Wade's car is missing a timer belt, and so the plan is he's gonna stay in town. Oh, while they find out that that's missing, there's a really bad smell. They're like, what the fuck is that? Weird cop-out. Weird Chekhov's bad smell. Red herring.
I don't understand what that was.
It's just the roadkill.
She falls into, they go to look for it.
Yeah, the girls go to look for
Paris
it.
and
Carly.
And then she falls down the hill, Carly does, and then into a pile of
rotting deer carcass goo. Just like a bunch of roadkill.
Why?
I don't know. I guess that guy's job was to clear roadkill off the road.
But is that how you do it?
I have no clue. But she falls in a pile of goo, and there's a hand sticking out and a maggot coming out of the hand. And then this hillbilly guy comes up, and then they're like, hey, what the fuck is that? And he rips the hand out of the pile of goo. Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay. It is the same truck, right? That's what really threw me off. Is he driving the same truck as the truck before? It's just a truck.
It's a different truck.
It's just a truck. Okay. And he says, anybody need a hand? And he yanks the hand out of the roadkill pile, which I appreciated. He's like, I found this on the side of the road. And then Chad Michael Murray instantly takes his shirt off for his sister, whose shirt is covered in gore. And then the hillbilly's leering at the girl, not everyone, and whatever. And so he offers to give them a ride into town. And so Wade and Carly go with him, and then it's really tense, and this guy's like stressing them out and talking about roadkill and the meat of the deer and all this stuff, and then he pulls his knife out and stabs it into his car, and then they get to like a little marsh-ish, and he's like, I have to put my truck in four-wheel drive to get into town. They're like, no thanks, we'll walk the rest of the way.
It didn't seem that bad, because they were able to just like hop and skip right over.
Yeah, it was nothing. Yeah. But it turns out he's like trying to do something nice for people, damn. And then there is a town. It seems like it's abandoned, but then you see a curtain open when they walk by, and they end up going to a church, and the church had people at a funeral, and there's a man kneeling by the altar, an open casket, like crying, and then he comes out and he's like, you interrupted a funeral for car parts? And then he says, I'll meet you at the auto shop, I'll give you the car part later. So then they are walking around, he's like half an hour, so they go into this big building, House of Wax.
Roll credits.
End of
also,
film.
Backtrack a little bit. The only time you should interrupt a funeral is wait, no, that's a wedding. I was going to make a Shrek reference. Continue. Do not run in as Shrek saying I object to a funeral. That is not.
Okay. They might as well have. So they go into the House of Wax. There's a ton of wax figures. Duh. They bust in. Wade is just like, let's go in there. It says don't go in, and let's go in. And then you see someone with long black hair in the basement that he can hear them up above, and he's working on a wax figure. He's carving a titty out of wax is what that man is working on.
I forgot about that.
And then there's a few good fake outs. And then the boyfriend goes outside and he tries to bust into the basement, and it's locked up, and he plays chopsticks on the piano, and then there's a live dog. He thinks it's a wax figure. It's a live dog. And she gets spooked, and so they run out of there, and she's really stressed out. She's like, I don't want to be in there. And meanwhile, the rest of the friends are trying to drive to the game. They get stuck in traffic, and they turn around and go back to the campsite. And then eventually Paris Hilton and her boyfriend, the boyfriend sends the two other guys, the fedora-ish man and Chad Michael Murray, off to go see where they are and go help them with the car, right? Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's happening simultaneously. And then the other guy comes out of the funeral. They are in the auto shop, and she's like, I don't think I should be here. And then he's like, oh, are you going to steal that? And he's like, no, but you don't even have the right one for what I needed. And he's like, oh, it's up at my house. And he's like...
Weird energy from both parties.
Yes, weird. Yeah, absolutely. Everyone... And he's like flirting with... He's flirting with Carly, and the boyfriend's mad about it. And not really mad. He just like jokes about it, but she's not happy about it. And then they walk back to the house. And meanwhile, while that's happening, we find out... So it's called Trudy's House of Wax. And Trudy is the mom. We were talking over this, but I pieced it together. Trudy is the mom who got a brain tumor, and her husband was a doctor. We saw newspaper clippings up in the lobby.
Oh, the dad was the doctor?
Yes, the dad was the doctor, and he couldn't save her, and she went crazy, and he had to strap her down to a bed because she was crazy, and then she died, and then he killed himself. And then this man is telling them this, and he's like, yeah, it sucked for the two boys. They got thrown in foster homes. And then... So, big ol' exposition dump, and then, boyfriend Wade has to pee, so he goes inside, and then he starts, the guy's like, I'm gonna go upstairs and change, and then I'll grab the timing belt. And so, he is in the house, and he's walking through looking at this weird old house, and he walks into a room full of fetuses in jars, not human fetuses, like animal fetuses in jars, and then he picks one up, and what was the noise? Could you do it for us, Eric?
I don't remember what it was.
He was like, I don't know what he did. He just went like,
you know, that's what you do when you pick up like a animal fetus.
Yeah, he just looks delighted to be fucking around with all of this stuff. And then there are wax face molds in there. And then he goes into another room that has like torture murder devices. In this guy's house, there's like gurneys, there's like blades, little saws, and he's just playing with the saws. He's like, oh, look at this. Weird.
We got the
yeah.
saw?
And he is then attacked by a guy with long hair and a face that looks different than the other guy. That guy pops a little hand out of the there's like a basement, like a trap door. Mm-hmm. Pops a little hand out and snips his Achilles heel with scissors. Which I don't know. I didn't think that was that bad.
No.
It's not
like
great.
Through the jeans, it's 2 seconds. You don't see anything.
Yeah, and so then Wade just like topples over and he's freaking out, and then this guy ends up hitting him in the head. They grapple briefly, and then he drags him into the basement. And is it nighttime now?
Yeah.
It's already nighttime. So all the lights turn on in the town is what I said. And she... Oh, here's what happens. Carly is waiting for Wade. She's in the truck. And then the guy comes out. She notices that the truck, it has a missing headlight. So it's the dude. It's the dude from the camp night before. So she honks the horn, and then it doesn't matter because Wade is donezo. And the guy comes out, and then she ends up locking the door, and she says she's waiting for Wade. And he's like, no, it's my truck. And then she's like, you're the guy from the campsite. And he punches in the window. She starts driving the truck away. He's hanging outside of it. She drops her phone. She ends up stalling the truck out, and it like gets turned. And she starts booking it away, and then the guy ends up catching her with a weird overhead shot, like a weird drone shot, basically. But he like catches up with her. It like zooms out. I thought it was a pretty good shot. It like zooms way out, and then she's running, and you can just see the top of her head, and then he catches up with her and grabs her, and then takes her to the auto shop, and he ties her up, and he straps her to a thing in the back. Fucking 9 Inch Nails is playing. Yeah. And weird. And he straps her to a gurney thing and then duct tapes her onto it. And then we see his wrists, and his wrists are all fucked up, so we can presume this is the bad kid from the beginning. I thought it was going to be the good kid. This is the bad kid.
Yes.
And then...
First plot twist of many.
He super glues her mouth shut.
It
wasn't... I don't know what I thought. I was like, forever? And then I was like,
maybe.
No.
It was probably... anyways.
I don't know.
Yeah. Bad. I didn't like it.
I didn't... You know what? I didn't like it either.
Oh, okay, good. Glad we can agree upon that.
And he's like, oh, it's sad I have to glue your pretty lips closed. I'm like, okay. And then he does like a weird shush and blows on her lips to make the glue seal. And I was just like, please relax. Like, bleh. And then we cut back to poor Wade. Wade, I don't really watch a lot of this part. He's in a chair locked into the chair, like bolted into it, it looked like, with a bunch of... Why were there needles? Oh, because
he... It was to hold him into place.
Okay.
So they weren't necessarily needles. They were just like...
Things. Because he, Wade is like fading in and out of consciousness, and he stitches up his wound, his leg wound he gave him, and his shoulder. He got him a shoulder wound.
When they're in their kerfuffle, as
you
would call
kerfuffle.
it.
And then he waxes off his eyebrows and his sad little mustache.
Oh,
R.I.P.
no. That's why he was so upset. It's like, it took me years to grow that mustache.
And then hard cut to him sitting in this chair, and then he gets sprayed over with wax. House of Wax. It sucked.
House of Wax.
It sucked. I think that might have been one of the gnarliest things we've watched so far, right?
Yeah.
I would say.
Because, like, this honestly, this movie was, like, bad, but it's like with Saw and this, we're, like, just, like, really tiptoeing near that territory of, like, that early 2000s grossness.
Yeah. I think this was way worse than Saw.
Yeah.
Way worse. Who would have known?
Saw doesn't show anything.
I know, but you would have thought, right?
Right, yeah.
Like, yeah.
Poor little James Wan and Leo Nelkin.
Shown up. Absolutely shown up. He watched this, he's like, God damn it, I must get them for The Conjuring. It's like, they will be mine.
There's two things on my plate. I will get these guys to do The Conjuring, and then I will make Aquaman.
Those are good priorities. I wrote down What in the Hellraiser, which we have not watched yet, but wow, it was a lot. I did not watch this. I watched through me fingies. I did not want to look at it. Speaking of fingers, hard cut to Chad Michael Murray splits up with Fedora Man, and we find out, he didn't steal...
Scene when they split up. It's really
he didn't steal the car. He covered for his shitty friend.
A bad boy with a heart of gold, you would say.
I would say it.
Maybe if you forgot the fact that he kicked a homeless person in the beginning of the movie, you would...
Damn, man, I wanted to forget that, because he's... Okay, we'll have to do some work, but he will be on the horror team. So she is like, she's in an underground room, strapped in there, and there's a grate that she can see through, and she can hear her brother talking, and her lips are glued shut. Bummer. But she ends up being able to completely maneuver out of the chair, just like break it apart. She's a pretty good job. And she sticks her finger up through the grate and she's wiggling it, trying to get his attention. And, our antagonist named Bo is talking to Chad Michael Murray. He's like, I haven't seen anybody. You should probably leave. And he's backing up. And I thought he was going to step on her finger. Much worse. He bends over and snips it off with some pliers.
Snip snap.
Snip snap. Takes her finger. And then she pries her own mouth open. I didn't super look at this. It didn't look that bad. I know you did not love it. Was it bad?
It was pretty good. Whatever they did was pretty good.
It looked kind of CGI-y to me, was it?
Maybe. I wasn't.
That could have just been. Yeah, I know.
I kind of disassociated. I went to my happy place. I was near a tree on a swing, having a good time.
Everyone's lips are on there. Yeah. Okay. This is what you come here for, folks. Both of us not paying attention because we're like, ooh. So,
God,
not that bad.
I wish she had like a blade, because you could just go like, whoop, like unzip your mouth, but she just had to like pry it open. It was bad.
If you watch that one part in The Matrix, not to talk about The Matrix again, but if you watch that part where he loses his mouth,
The Matrix again.
If you watch that part where he loses his mouth, it looks the same. Okay,
yeah.
So then she screams, "Help!" and then her brother's like, "Okay." So he hauls ass.
Man of action.
Absolutely, he hauls ass, locks the guy out, is able to he like kicks open the door, kicks closed the door. It's amazing. He goes down there, helps her out, gets her out of there, and then they end up running into the church for help. And then it turns out everyone we saw was wax figures.
I think that happened before. I think she ran in there first.
Yes, you're right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so at some point she went to the church.
There's a church. There's wax people.
All wax figures. It's the funeral of Trudy Sinclair. It's his mom.
The one and the only.
Yes. So this lady who made the wax museum had 2 fucked up kids. And she was the one who made the wax figures. And then she has an eternal funeral going on. And there's a pretty good sequence of her hiding. And then he is able to grab her. And then that's when she gets yada yada. Okay.
What a weird town. It is a small town that was like, oh, it was the sugar factory that kept this town alive. And also has a house of wax.
And then she's like, what kind of wax sculptors are local celebrities? They're like, small town. I'm like, weird.
No.
The thing about this movie is they acknowledge every weird thing that happens, but it's still weird.
Makes it weirder.
Absolutely. Agreed. They don't just like, oh, that's weird. It's like, why did this happen? Anyway, like...
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
What in the wax?
Okay. So... Dalton, the camcorder friend, ends up walking into the lobby, and then he walks through of the House of Wax, sees Wade sitting at the piano, and he's like, Wade, what you doing, buddy? Walks over, and he's wax, and he's like, oh, fuck, and he pokes him, and then Wade looks over with his eyeballs, so Wade is still alive under that wax suit, which is very grim, and then he pokes him too hard, and then his face just fucking falls off. Part of his face falls off, and it was pretty funny, because he's like, oh, buddy, oh, shit, sorry, man. He's trying to stick his face back on.
No, he was pulling it off more.
I don't know what he was trying to do.
It was bad, because he was just like, oh, I'm so sorry, as he's ripping off his
Literally,
face.
and then you can see that Wade is crying, and his eyes are moving. Awful. I mean, probably worst part of the movie, right? That had to be it.
Yeah, just like, yeah.
Yeah. And then, the man with the long hair shows up and kicks Wade's ass. He looks like Tommy Wiseau big time. And he looks like James Franco playing Tommy Wiseau. That's what he looks like.
Damn.
So Dalton is running away. He runs down into the sewers. It is starting to get waxy down there. And
Getting waxy.
and he gets beheaded, and his head rolls away, and then his eyes are still blinking. And Eric pointed out, really good effect. Really good effect. I think it looked like a practical effect.
No, I'm pretty sure it was his real face, but then they like CGI'd off where the neck is.
I should hope so.
No, they actually
dun, dun, dun.
Would have you ever seen that actor in anything else?
There's a plot here, guys. They burned it down for real. Here's where I almost lose it. So Chad Michael Murray and the sister essentially are doing a good job. They're like, okay, we got to get out of here. And then they end up, I need to paraphrase here a little bit. So they end up going into an abandoned movie theater where What Happened to Baby Jane is playing, which Eric pointed out is a tale of two twins gone bad. But now we have a tale of more twins gone bad, and then two twins gone good.
That was actually one of the taglines.
Oh, and then we cut back to Paris Hilton and the boyfriend, and they're camping, and then she does a striptease scene because she must. And I'm not saying that as an attack on Paris Hilton ever in my life, but they put Paris Hilton in this movie, they made her give a blowjob, they made her do a strip scene, and then they made her get murdered, which happens in a second. So boyfriend leaves, Paris Hilton is trying to... She does her strip scene, they're gonna have sex, the music turns off, she wants to tell him that she's pregnant, she doesn't. He goes outside to fix the boombox. She sees someone walking towards her. It's Tommy Wiseau!
Oh, hi, Mark.
He's coming in, she runs away, she's in her bra and a shirt, and her underwear and no shoes, and she runs by, and her boyfriend is gurgling to death, stabbed in the neck.
Ugh.
Honestly, on terms of ways to go, not a horrible way to go. So Paris Hilton is running away, and I was honestly thinking, I was like, this movie wasn't too misogynistic. Like, there's just some leering at the woman, and then,
They were waiting.
Yeah, but then it was just Paris Hilton in her underwear running away. I think it's really fucked up. People saw this movie to see her die. They tricked them into seeing a good movie, but shame on the marketing team. And she is in a warehouse, and then we see like a pile of cell phones and a bunch of cars in this warehouse. So we get the idea that they're taking people off the side of the road. And she is standing on a grate, and the guy pops up through the grate with a knife and gets her in the bottom of the foot, and he's basically doing whack-a-mole but in reverse with a knife, and she's like hopping away. That's what I thought of. And then she grabs a big piece of wood that's kind of pokey at the end, and she ends up hiding in one of the cars, and he walks by, and she thinks she's good, and then she hears a noise, and she sits up, and he is popping in, and she tries to stab him with the wood, but then he grabs it, and then she gets out, and she runs away, and she hides, and she stands up to see something. Bam! Spear through the head. She gets speared in the head.
It's pretty gnarly.
Speared in the head. Falls forward on it. She's like kneeling on top of it. It's spearing her through the head. And the guy walks up with... He has the camcorder. He stole the camcorder. So he gets some gross Paris Hilton snuff footage. It was really unfortunate. It wasn't good. It was everyone's weird fucking fantasy about Paris Hilton.
It was all like
murdered.
the lowest moment of the movie.
It truly was. It truly was.
She wasn't even like...
She wasn't even in the movie.
She was a pretty like decent character.
She was great.
In the beginning.
Yeah.
And then like they were like, oh fuck, wait, no, she's Paris Hilton.
She probably was like, I'm really busy and I can be in like 3 scenes, so make them count.
Yeah.
Is what I hope happened. Here's where the notes go away. I wrote down splorching. They are going back. Brother and sister are going back to try get the cell phone to make a call to call the cops. He ends up, there's a gun store somehow, and he ends up breaking the window. She's like, no, he's gonna make noise. He's like, he's gonna find us anyway. Busts through the window, and that is when I declared he is joining my horror survival team. Yeah! And he gets a crossbow, and the other guy shows up and has a gun, and that's when they end up in the movie theater. Mm-hmm. And they are hiding amongst the wax figures sitting, and the movie is playing, and he walks by, and it's a very tense scene of Beau trying to figure out where everybody is, and
the wax figures are just so realistic. You can't tell between them and the
It's not like he spent his whole life, like, putting them there. And he hears her, and he's about to shoot her, but then Chad Michael Murray gets him first. He gets him in the shoulder, and he gets him in the arm. He gets him, like, in the shoulder chest area, and he gets him in the arm. Mm-hmm. And then they run out into the lobby, and Chad Michael Murray kicks his ass. And then she searches him for more ammo. They get his shotgun. Shotgun's out. They leave everything there. They leave the crossbow there. And she pokes him a few times in the head, and he looks like he's dead. Okay? So then they are going back to the house to get the cell phone. That is when this is happening. And they end up in the house. She conveniently finds the classic, a trunk full of newspaper articles.
As one does.
As one does.
Do you not have your entire background story and newspaper articles in a trunk somewhere in your house?
Well, I guess if I was these guys, I would. So they were conjoined twins. The dad doctor separated them at birth in, like, risky procedures, what it says. So we can assume that... I will tell you. We don't need to assume. I watched the movie. Beau is the one who has been doing all the murdering shenanigans, and the other, Tommy Wiseau, is wearing a wax face. So we assume that he is the twin who was separated from the other guy.
Yeah.
And Beau comes back to the house. He's looking for these two. They are hiding. And then the other brother, Vincent, comes back, and his wax face got damaged, and so you see him heating up a spoon to fix his wax face, and Beau calls him a fucking freak, but then he says, Mom would be so proud of the work you've done. I told you could never leave this without me. He yells at him first, and then he says their mom would be proud of them, and I told you that it would make the wax figures more realistic. So we get the idea he brought the murder into the equation. Yeah. And the other brother just wanted to do some Phantom of the Opera wax work.
Very Texas Chainsaw Massacre-y.
I would not know.
Exactly. This is the closest we'll ever get.
No, we'll watch it someday.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, someday.
This is a good precursor.
Yeah, this movie slapped. So they escape into the tunnels of wax. They are going into the building. They were doing so well, and in their worst move to turn on a light in the hallway, they flip all of the generators.
So dumb.
Oh, Beau came back. He wasn't dead. I said he came back, and I didn't even mention that. He had arrows in him. He rips the arrows out of himself.
Not the most efficiently, but...
Absolutely not. Yeah. It was gross. You see it, the whole thing go through his arm. It's fine. So then they're like, oh, we know where they are. They're underneath in the tunnels. And so they end up going to the chambers where we last saw poor Wade. And now it is poor Dalton. The friend is in the wax chamber thing. And... I was like, wait, is Chad Michael Murray's character in love with this guy? That was my only pitch. And he's like, don't worry, I'm gonna, what does he say? I'm gonna get you out of there. Yeah. And then he rips his fucking head off. He rips his wax head off.
It was already detached, but it is...
Yeah!
It is the second time somebody has found one of their friends in wax and immediately disembodies them.
That's what happens, because he did it to someone else first.
Yeah.
And so it happens to him. The only good moment of acting? Good acting, good reactions from both of them. I was like, wow, what a bummer. So our lead protagonist, she cannot act. She is not a good actor, but if she's in proximity to Chad Michael Murray, she can act. She has to be within a few feet of him, but then she can start acting. I don't understand it. Okay?
Well, it's because all of her attention is in 5 feet of where she's at.
Yeah. All right. So then they are like, we gotta get out of here. And then Tommy Wiseau shows up, and she's like, oh, it's Vincent! And so then they start fighting in the wax chambers. What I love is the energy that Chad Michael Murray is bringing.
There's so many things you're saying that just sounds so cool. You had said the tunnel of wax, fighting in the wax chambers. All of these. Why is this not a series?
Well, I mean, all right. So we can't. We will soon. We are almost there. He's like, you motherfucker, and goes at him instead of being like, oh God, he's here. He's like, oh good, he's here. And she's going to go kick his ass. And she says earlier, she's like, we have to be careful. He's like, I am being careful. And I was like, oh, he's so cool. And so he starts kicking this guy's ass. And he's doing a pretty good job. And then he gets stabbed. It's later. Okay. And so then the brother ends up tipping the giant wax heater thing, and it's on fire, and everything starts lighting on fire, and then they keep escaping, and then they come up through the museum, right? Yeah. And then Bo shows up again. This is what happens. Bo shows up again. They start fighting. He's like, I'm gonna kick your ass. And she got a baseball bat somewhere along this way. She does what she should have done before. Literally, okay, here's what I said when they were in the movie theater lobby. I was like, I would have caved that fucking dude's head in, just to be sure. She makes sure.
She heard Jaime say that in the movie.
And she's like, you know what? Bet.
Yeah.
And she makes it happen. She smooshes his head in with a baseball bat. She just keeps going. Great, good job. Vincent runs through. He somehow got through the fire. He sees...
He did it with a mattress.
Yeah.
He just used a mattress.
And also, all of his clothes were in there, so it implies that he has to live in that wax room.
I think those clothes were for the dummies.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Oh, gross.
He lives where he works. Sleeps where he works, yeah.
Yeah. He is there, and he ends up being able to stab... He, like, screams a monstrous scream. He stabs Chad Michael Murray in the knee socket. That looked like a bummer. Ooh. And then he falls over, and then the fire from below starts coming through the floor. So everything starts melting. She runs up the stairs. Vincent goes after her. Chad Michael Murray is crawling through the wax up, and I was like, he's gonna fucking die in this wax. Are you kidding me? So he's like crawling his way up the melting stairs.
Because that's where you want to go. In a fire or serial killer situation, you always want to run up the stairs.
That's why I was making me crazy. I was like, we are on the ground floor, gang, and he's telling her, run, go, and she runs upstairs. So we are upstairs, and she tries to give him this speech, like, you don't have to kill. I know he was making you do it. You're not a freak. And then he's still trying to kill her.
Weird times. It's like Paris, like, introducing the fact that she's pregnant in between sexy dance and murder time.
Insane.
And her trying to reason with the killer in between house melting, giant fires, stabby time.
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
If there's any D&D podcast followers out there, it's like trying to reason with the big bad in the middle of combat. Like, you're already in it, bud.
Absolutely. And it looks like she's gonna get stabbed. It looks like he's gonna get her. And then Chad Michael Murray says, you motherfucker, and tackles him, and then he's gonna stab Chad Michael Murray right in the damn eyeball. And then she pulls the knife out of his knee, which is amazing, because she needs a weapon. And he says, you have to do it. You have to do it. And she stabs him a bunch. Yeah. And they get out. And the floor melts, and Vincent falls through the floor, and he lands on his brother. It looks like they are matched up the way that they were when they were children.
There's a point, too, where he gets his wax face ripped off, and it is like...
Oh, yeah. His face is gone.
It's like half of it's... yeah, it's confusing.
Yeah, he's like missing an eyeball, and his like face is caved in.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he falls on top of his brother, and they are aligned the way that they were when they were conjoined, which I realized just now.
Very sweet.
How the faces line up. Yeah. And
it's cute.
Cute. And so they are running out, and everything is melting, and they don't know how they're going to get out, and so they claw their way out of the walls. And the House of Wax title card, it kind of jumped the shark for me here a little bit. They literally claw their way out of the title sequence.
It's pretty great.
And there's like this crazy CGI. I was like, okay, Eric told me the budget. The budget is $40 million.
Yes.
They spent $20 million on Paris Hilton and $20 million on the CGI explosions at the end.
And then they told everybody else, we'll catch you later.
Everything blows up. And they are staring at this House of Wax melting, burning down. Cut to the next day. Cops are everywhere. They are in the back of an ambulance. Oh, no. And they say, this town's been abandoned for 10 years. We found the warehouse. Turns out that they've been taking people off the interstate for that long. If we hadn't seen the smoke, we never would have found it. And they're like, it's so funny because me and Eric are like, literally, how did this even happen? And then he's like, how could this even happen? Like right after we say it.
Yeah, the cop like busted. He's like, listen, I'll explain. I'll explain. Don't worry.
And then the door of the medical van closes and drives away. And then we hear, it's like, Sheriff, we got a call. The doctor didn't have 2 sons. He had 3!
My Chemical Romance plan!
No, because we see the hillbilly again.
Okay.
And the hillbilly weirdly waves to them, and I thought, I was like, it has to be the hillbilly from the beginning. He has to be the third brother.
Yeah.
He's not. Who's driving the van?
No, I think it is the hillbilly.
It wasn't. They were driving away, and the guy was sitting on the back of a truck and waved at them.
Yeah.
So who's driving them?
The ambulance driver.
No, I think the ambulance driver kidnapped them, and it's the brother.
No.
Okay, I was under the impression that this movie started a brand new movie immediately.
Because I thought it was gonna do that classic thing where they like close the door and then they drive away, and then they're like, "How long to the hospital, driver?" And
that's what I thought too.
It's the hillbilly, but no, he's just wait. They just didn't do that.
So they're not being driven to the hospital of wax.
They might.
That's what I thought was happening. I thought he was driving and they just didn't show it, and that the hillbilly was innocent all along.
No.
So it is the hillbilly, is the third brother.
And Jaime's sequel of Hospital of
I
Wax.
am so... After all of that, after all the work I did in the last 2 hours to keep all this fucking shit straight, I missed the ending completely? Are you kidding me, Eric?
Of course it's Roadkill Driver. With such a prominent title role as Roadkill Driver, you expect him not to be the third brother?
Oh my god. Okay, and then it starts playing Helena.
Okay.
That was so good. House of Wax.
Wow, Jaime.
I'm exhausted.
Pour some Gatorade on you.
Literally.
Take a breather. Do some
wax.
stretches. Smoke
Just
some wax.
Forever in my victory pose.
There we go.
What? Tell me a little bit more about this.
So this movie was made for $40 million. And made $70.1 million.
I can never tell if those numbers are good or bad.
That's pretty good.
Okay.
That's pretty. It received a fair amount of negative reviews.
I believe that.
Ebert was quoted as saying it was as good as what you could expect.
That's not true. Fuck him. He's wrong. I got a bone to pick with that guy.
Oh, you think
16 years later. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a financial hit. And I think what it was, and the weird way this movie was marketed, between seeing that, I showed Jaime a cast photo where they're all like in suits and stuff, like posing.
Yes, and we watched the trailer before we started recording now, because I was trying to buy myself some time before I had to do this recap.
That's what it was for.
No, I wanted to see the trailer too. It's billed like everyone gets split up in the House of Wax and hunted down.
But
is how it's
movie.
Not even close.
Not close. And then like with the MTV thing in Paris, it's like it's all geared. It's like geared towards that like younger demographic that would like, want to go see it.
But it's like fucked. It is not. It is not what it says it is. This movie is, I feel like, completely different than how it was marketed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the difference between like the producers and marketers versus the filmmakers.
They're like, we can't sell this. Are you kidding me? This movie's weird.
They're like, okay, we got a Paris Hilton murder movie. Okay, we can work with that. And they're like, yes, that is what we were making.
Like, she
you turn around.
Her bra. It's like,
actually, it's about twin brothers, but they're triplets. All right, follow me here. The romantic leads won't have chemistry. Siblings, though.
I don't think that was planned. That was inexplicable.
Whoever the casting director is was just
really beefed it.
Yeah.
Really missed the mark. Yeah, you said it pretty concisely up front. I am really surprised at how much I like this movie. I had a blast watching it.
Good soundtrack.
Great soundtrack.
Prodigy, My Chemical Romance, Deftones, Disturbed, Interpol, Marilyn Manson, the Stooges, and Joy Division apparently has a song in there. It's on the soundtrack. I didn't hear Joy
Brad.
Division.
It might have been the bluesy rock.
No, that was the Black Keys.
Oh, okay. Was it? No. I don't know anymore. Yeah, this movie, it was really gross. It was really gnarly. Although I think if someone is not like being tortured, if something just happens, like if someone is, when she was like strapped down, I was like, don't like this. And when he was strapped down and then it got turned into a wax man, hated that. But like finger getting snipped off, foot getting stabbed, ankle getting snapped, I was like, It's fine.
You're like a school nurse. You're like, yeah, throw some ice on it.
There's a peppermint. Yeah, I was just like, you know what? Like, I had a really fun time watching it. I did scream throughout most of it, as I must. Honestly, there's 2 podcasts when we record. The one is me shouting during the movie, and the other one is this part. So, one is the first one is Lost to the Ages, and the other one is this right now.
It was just for one audience, and it is Eric.
Yeah, it's Eric.
Hey.
I enjoyed watching Eric be scared, which sounds grim, but it's usually only me. But Eric, I kept being really annoying and asking Eric what was happening, and I was like, "Oh, you haven't seen this movie? I forgot."
To be fair, though, I got annoying at a certain point because I watched the kill cams, and so I knew the twist of the brothers, and then Jamie's like, "Is that the brother? Oh no, that's the other brother, the Hillbilly's brother," which is like a fair assumption to like kind of like try to figure it out.
And I was right in the end. How about that? How about that?
You're right. Hard cut to the end. Jamie was right.
Thank you. That was so dumb. Okay, here's what I didn't like about this movie. That ending obviously didn't work on me.
Didn't work?
I didn't get it.
Yeah.
I just got it now.
It's so dumb. It's like not. It's
He should have been driving the truck. They're not smart, okay? They're not clever. He should have been driving the hospital.
And how many
ambulance.
twists do you need? Because they had 3 twists.
And also, everyone says you're 2 sons, 2 sons. There's 2 sons in the paper. There's 2 sons in the beginning.
Why does the third son
There's
matter?
no way we could have figured that out. There were no hints. And also, it's like, did the brother live with them then? He had a job? Then he has an address. If he has a job, then he has a W-2 form.
It's
so
like
where does his address go?
626 House of Wax Drive.
Literally. So there's a lot of plot holes here. The 2 brothers, like, this movie tried to explain and
This
kind
movie
of
has as many holes as a House of Wax burning down.
Okay. This movie, thank you marketing team for House of Wax. This movie tries to explain all the weird things that I'm like, okay, well, how is the town running? And then it shows a giant generator underground. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, well, how are there other people? And Eric's like, it's a Home Alone situation where there's like fake mannequins. And I'm like, so it explains every weird thing it does. And it does a pretty good job. I would say as good of a job as it could for being as fucking ridiculous as it was, except for the third brother. I was like, you didn't need, like, if you were gonna do that, make him drive the hospital. Like, make him drive the ambulance, okay?
Make him do something.
Make him do, instead of just wave at them.
Because he's completely inactive in the whole situation.
Yeah, and then she startles, and that's the end of the movie. After he waves at her, she, like, looks upset, so maybe it's implied she figured it out somehow. But she doesn't know there's a third brother, so maybe she's just like, ew, heebie-jeebies.
Maybe it's the dog. The dog's the key. Because the dog was with
Oh, Eric, you're onto something. And let me say,
I wrote this movie. I'm the third Hayes brother that they never mentioned.
These twins are pretty sharp. I will say it. So, okay, that makes sense.
Wait, back it up. What a weird movie for 2 brothers to write. What a weird movie.
They're like, this is just like us, you know? Like, what?
But which ones? Both?
We got bad twins. We got good twins.
Yeah.
We got a third brother who is ignored.
Yeah.
That's all we got.
That's like if like the twins at the end were like, wow, I can't believe we made it out of that one. Can't wait to go home and tell our triplet.
Yeah, tell her.
This.
Tell her. No, I don't think the other one wasn't a triplet.
No, that's what I was.
No. The other, he was just like a younger brother then.
Yeah.
Just the other third kid.
And he looked really familiar. I was like, where have I seen this guy before? Because he was a pretty good for like his small little role. He's the weird actor who somehow got cast as Charles Manson in 2 separate things within like the same year.
Well, that's a hell of a career.
Way to very, very much typecast yourself.
He's got a brand. Wow.
What a life.
And it's a threatening presence. So that is what I didn't like. I really do think, I mean, obviously the misogyny, sure, absolutely. Yes, It wasn't great. We did point out that what would happen now if this movie was made now, Paris Hilton would still be objectified, but then she would end up being able to kill the guy, and then she would be a #girl boss.
Of course.
So I guess it's only pandering in one direction. It's not good. It was bad. That part was bad. It was unnecessary. I understand why it happened. The way Paris Hilton was treated by society at large was unnecessary, and I'll say that.
Yeah, it's almost like forgotten to time, I think, at a certain point, because I feel like the Kardashians have filled in that space so much. But watching that reality TV show, I was like, right, in the early 2000s, there's this whole thing with Paris Hilton. And
like Anna Nicole Smith, and same. So here's a plug. Here's a good plug. There's a podcast called You're Wrong About that I think we've talked about on the pod, or at least we've mentioned it before. But they cover things that culture has misremembered, and they have an Anna Nicole Smith episode that's really good. I feel like they should cover Paris, but if you like that energy of looking back at women who were wronged, like they have like Monica Lewinsky and like Princess Diana, and they have like a whole bunch of series like that.
Okay.
So there's my plug for another podcast if you need something else to listen to cleanse your soul post House of Wax. Is there anything you didn't like about this movie? My voice is going hoarse.
I mean, you were
screaming for 2 hours. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, the Paris Hilton stuff wasn't great.
Yes.
Just like anytime it was, the thing that shocked me was how little it was, though. Of like how little there was no like around the fire, even they weren't like they were kissing, but they weren't like having the girls like dance in front of the fire like half naked. They never said, there was like no slurs dropped.
A miracle.
Which, again, like everything that was like, okay, well, this movie is obviously like, it's gonna say something like this, and it didn't. I was like, oh, weird. And it felt like it was like added to the weirdness of the vibes of the movie by not doing that stuff.
The only weird words the only rated R words they said were fuck, and they said it enough that these felt like real people, but they said no slurs, and they could have. They definitely could have slipped a few slurs in there.
They felt real by saying curse words, but they did not feel real in their
actions.
actions.
I trust the Hayes brothers. I trust them. What a weird movie. I don't know what else to say about it.
Yeah, the sets were crazy.
So
like,
did
it was
they
cool.
No wonder they burned their fucking set down.
Well, yeah, it's like
for real.
Yeah, it's bad. It's because it was inside a Warner Brothers backlot studio
in Australia.
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably
weird.
Tax write-offs or something like that.
So they
Joel Silver was making moves.
So they built a weird fake town.
So that was the thing. So they built the interiors.
Okay.
And that's what burned down, was like where they had the staircase.
That makes sense.
It was during the fight sequence, and what's his face? Jaime Murray was like, "Oh, it's getting hot in here," and then they're like, "Oh, it's a fire!"
Oh my god, that's so. I was joking, but I was like, "So this was a real fire?" But that was the real fire.
I mean, but like, of course, they didn't film all.
I mean,
they
of
had
course
to,
not.
They had to rebuild the set
God.
afterwards. But there's a lot of stuff for the behind the scenes that are pretty interesting. There's like one moment where like they're like, "All right, Jared, we have to spray you with wax," and he was like, "I don't want to do this. What? I don't want to get sprayed with wax. This was in my contract. Like, we got to do it. We got to shave your arm and spray you with wax. There's a whole scene with you getting sprayed with wax." He's like, "I don't want to do this," and then he eventually did. But he was all upset.
That's the
about
whole
it.
movie, dog.
Like,
what are you talking about?
It was.
You
so
sign up
dumb.
for House of Wax, and you don't think you're gonna be around wax?
You don't think you're gonna get waxed? Should I do it now? I'll do it now.
What's my nugget? Is that this?
Yes.
Good.
All right, Jamie. Now, talking about your world and how weird everything crosses over.
Okay.
Who would be the weirdest person that would be the most Jamie person to, for some reason, attend the premiere of House of Wax?
I don't know. Robert Pattinson?
Robert Pattinson was at the premiere of House of Wax. Why? I don't know, Jamie. He's not in the movie. Why was he there? As a young lad. Look at this little boy.
He's Cedric. He's Cedric Diggory.
Yeah. And he flew to Australia to go to House of Wax premiere.
It premiered in Australia?
I guess so.
What is going on? Everything in my life has led up to me watching House of Wax today with you on a Thursday night.
Thank you to me doing my research during this
Thank you!
I was going mad. I was like Beethoven in my locked room with papers around. It's all Jamie stuff related. It's all connected.
There are 2 pictures in Eric's Google Drive folder, and one is just a zoomed-in picture of Robert Pattinson on this red carpet wearing a t-shirt and a blazer.
As one does in the 2005.
You bastard! Oh my god. I had no clue. What you were going to say. Mm-hmm. It's all... And... Here's what I said in an early episode. If I can watch this movie and I can withstand it, I'm a big, strong boy. I'm a big, strong boy. I liked this movie.
Jamie is picking up my couch as we speak. She's picking it over her head. She's throwing it. She's so strong.
I'm so strong. I really like this movie.
This is incredible. This is great.
Yeah, it's not like... I don't know. I'll have to see how it ranks later.
Yeah.
Scares wise, I think it's time to rank it at least a little bit now.
A little bit of
it gets a 5 out of 5 on scares.
Okay.
It does. It's gross.
Yeah.
It's one jump scare really got me. Not a lot of jump scares. I'll say that. All the jump scares are fake.
Yeah.
Except for like a few of them. I'll let you find out which ones.
Oh.
But I mean, this movie was gross. It was gory. It was gross. There were parts of it I did not watch. Did close my eyes. Haven't done that. Have not closed my eyes in any movies. this movie. I was like, I don't need to see that. So, I think, right? Is that off mark?
Exorcist, but I think that's it. That was just needles.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. This movie was not... I don't know if it was scary. It was gross. It was... Parts of it were... I mean, really fucking gross.
It's a movie designed for a bunch of, like, young adults to go see and go like, oh, that's gross, and then walk out and like laugh about how gross it was.
I don't know. Like, I thought it was a lot. I think it was, that's what it was billed as.
Yeah.
But I don't think the movie was that. It had like a weird...
It did a lot.
It did the most.
It did the most, yeah.
Is my review. But it was, if you are watching, it is pretty gory. It is pretty gnarly.
And goopy.
And goopy. Ugh, goopy. But I wouldn't say that it's... Yeah, it wasn't, like, dreadful. It wasn't, like... So I guess maybe scary isn't the right thing. 5 out of 5 for scares. It was 5 out of 5 for grosses. I don't know what it was for scares.
We just introduced a new meter.
It wasn't... I was not scared watching this movie. I was, like, flipping out. I was just like, oh, no, ah! But I wasn't, like, upset. That's the best way I can put it.
That's a great way to put it.
It's pretty good. I give it... There are way too many things for me to choose a joke here.
5 out of 5 Robert Pattinsons at the red carpet of the premiere of House of Wax in Australia.
Choose the one thing that had nothing to do with it. 2 out of 2 twins.
Which type of twins, though?
I'll let you decide, listener.
Please subscribe and drop us a review if you haven't already. Also follow us on Instagram at Horrorscope Pod with 1D and at Twitter at Horrorscope Pod with 2Ds. We post new episode announcements, news, artwork, and more. Your horoscope for the day is: melt away in a relaxing day, but be careful where you do.